You want to learn how to run for office? Meet the only Horry County native that held office as a congressman. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning with the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're learning a little bit about running for office, the Gallivan's Ferry stump, and a little history of what happened in Horry County a little while back. And we're visiting with the Honorable John Jenrette. John,
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. Do you mind me calling you John?
Certainly not. Thank you very much. Please do.
It is, I can't say we haven't had former congressmen. We had someone you ran for office against and actually were successfully run against. You also were defeated by him, I believe.
That's right.
In 72, and then defeated him in 74, Ed Young. Who,
what a nice fellow. What a nice person. His family, great, misguided a little bit in the Republican side of the party, but nice people, really nice people. I've honored to know them, and I just am pleased that one of the daughters is here in Myrtle Beach, and I get to see Ed every now and then. It's just great.
That's right. Harriet's here, and her husband John's been with us a number of times, and actually Ed still gets down a heck of a lot to Surfside or Garden City, as you know. Loves it down there. Loves it down there. John, real quick about yourself. Where'd you grow up?
I'm an Horry County person. I was born in Conway and grew up over in Loris primarily and in North Myrtle Beach. My father, we had a small farm that I still have in the Conway area. My dad was a carpenter, so we moved around a good bit. He was on the railroad, did railroad carpenter work. We settled in Loris. I went to school in Loris and lifeguarded here in Myrtle Beach and in North Myrtle Beach, or Ocean Drive at that time, every year. So I've got, I guess I say at times I'm an original son of the beach. That there aren't a lot of them down here now, but those of us that have seen the things go that have gone magnificent what has happened in the last 5 years, and I predict the next 5 years are going to be just as rapid growth, and probably even more. Foreign countries are discovering Myrtle Beach. It's going to be in Horry County. It's going to be the entire of Horry County in a few years will be a suburb of 2 working areas, I think, and we've just got great growth before us. Look, television stations here that now used to be Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, or Florence, Myrtle Beach. Now it's Myrtle Beach, Florence, or Myrtle Beach, Wilmington.
You're exactly right.
So it's changing. The numbers are there. The people are coming. Nature has given us a great playground. It's given us some responsible leaders. So I think it's a great place to live. It's a great place to grow, to raise children, and it's a great place to seek employment and work and be a part of a community. I'm happy and delighted to have been a part of that.
Now, do you still get over to Conway and Loris often? You said you've kept that farm over there.
Well, I do go to, yes, I do. Don't go to Loris nearly as much. It seems sort of out of the way, but now with 22, it's better. I grew up there, played athletics there, have a lot of friends there. We talk a lot, we meet, but I guess now I've got so much sand. I'm pretty domesticated in Myrtle Beach. I stay right here. So, but it's a wonderful county.
John, and did you attend school in the area? Obviously, you attended school in the area. You later went off to the upstate for college.
Right. I wanted to play football, and I had 3 little offers, and my parents were very religious and thought Wofford would do me good. So I went to Wofford on a scholarship. Never played ball. Had some great friends that played there, and I did live in the athletic dorm, which was an interesting experience in itself. But Wofford was a great school, and I had an opportunity. It gave me a great education. The scholarship, even though I didn't play, I wasn't All-American as I intended to be. But I got a education, and it was wonderful. And the people I've met are still dear friends and are good citizens, and we've got a lot of Wofford people in Myrtle Beach.
Oh yeah, very definitely. Did you after college, before going to law school, did you travel around the area or?
Well, I was one of these 90-day wonders at that time. I was drafted. I mean, I had an ROTC. I was in ROTC, so I was a second lieutenant So I had my time to do, so I did that. And then I traveled in Europe for 6 months before I came back to the University of South Carolina Law School. I enjoyed that.
I bet. Absolutely. I think I saw in reading a little bit about you that you'd been the president or the Student Bar Association, real active there.
I was fortunate to be and a neat story coming from that, Greg. As president of the Student Bar Association Law School in the early 60s, along came a gentleman by the name of John F. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for young people in noticeable areas to work in the campaign. So I had an opportunity to co-chair his youth campaign.
Huh.
A wonderful experience.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
You mean just for South Carolina? Or?
Just for South, no, just
right,
for South
right.
Yeah,
but
just
still,
for
what an
Carolina.
exciting opportunity.
Had the opportunity to be with him when he was at the Capitol and be with the people counting those votes, Senator Hollings, and at that time Congressman Hemphill, who was his state campaign manager. So it was a wonderful experience for me, and at that time I was also a page in the state Senate. So having those type of connections, seeing those people and working with them gave me a great desire to be in public service.
Horry County eventually got you home.
It did. I've been fortunate and blessed to serve in a number of high positions and to meet people worldwide. But I don't think there's anything any better than coming back and seeing and watching people in your community grow and prosper, overcoming hardships, but making the community better. It's wonderful, and I guess I'm living sort of the American dream. I could live probably anywhere. I'm fortunate, and my family, we could live anywhere and do about anything. But you know, when you're around people that you've seen struggle, you've seen them triumph, it's heck not to watch that. So as much as I agonize in pain in the few weeks of cold weather we have here, I don't know that I would be happy at some other place. So this is truly home for me, and I'm honored and I'm tickled that my daughter and my grandchildren are here and I get to see them.
Right.
My son is in Orlando, not far away, and between he and Mickey Mouse, I get down there to see him. So I'm living the dream. I really am, Greg. I really am.
That's a great incentive to be able to take your grandchildren down there, or grandsons down there, down to Orlando.
I do that, and I take them to Gallups Ferry as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so exciting. And of course, tomorrow when you're back with us, we'll talk more about the stump and seeing Russell with us last week and so many amazing folks. She said, if you're going to talk about the stump, you got to get John Jenrette in because he's had so many amazing times. You remember that. Of course, let's first talk about making that commitment to run for office, whether it was for the state legislature or later for Congress. Let's talk first about the running for state legislature. What was the prompting there? Was it that bumping into John Kennedy in law school that gave a little...
It had that. I ran and was elected office at Walford in the 4 years that I was there. And that sort of gave me an interest in a leadership position. And then coming back and going into law school and being a page in the Senate. And I remember I was polishing brass one day, and the clerk was down there, and I said, listen, save me a seat. So the next year, and I'm skipping a little bit what you said, but the next year I was elected just out of law school to the state legislature, and I was taking my seat in the House of Representatives, and the Sergeant at Arms of the Senate kind of tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, Senator Brown wants to see you.
Oh, wow.
Well, when I got across the hall, I had worked on his committee and had brought him coffee and all, and he said, Jenrette, I want coffee as you used to bring it to me. So I'm a newly elected representative, and I'm still a page to the older crowd, which was a great training for me, and I enjoyed that.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about some of those early questions? You know, do I want the job? Do I know what I want to do with the job? Can I take the time? Is it the right time? How about some of those?
When I was elected, I had just finished law school, as I just said, and I'd moved with my wife was at that time was pregnant with Elizabeth, our daughter. We moved, bought a refrigerator at Chapin Company and moved in a house and opened a little one-room law practice up at Ocean Drive at that time. My first fee was a bushel of oysters.
You're kidding.
No kidding. Absolute truth. Guy came in, didn't have anything, had a question. He said, "I don't have any money, Mr. John, but I can give you some oysters." So that was my first. Anyway, from that, I began to be active in the Lions Club and things like that, and almost immediately I was thrust into politics. But some of the things you're asking, I went through in my mind when I was in law school. Did I want to do that? Could I do that? I was fortunate in this area to have been in the National Guard. I was a company commander, not at that time, but after that, of the National Guard. And that gave me a base of support, which when people come to me now, and I do have a number that still come, what can I do? And it's difficult when you start out just with your wife and 2 or 3 friends. I was a little fortunate in that I had the National Guard group that had not had a person in the state legislature that knew about the Guard as well as I did. Right. I was driving a tank, and I had a group of guys that really got out and worked. But in pre-planning that, yes, as a young lawyer with no other income, with a baby on the way, could I, 1, afford it financially, and 2, could I afford the time? I was fortunate to have enough to have people to help me financially, and I guess I do have some regrets about the time that I missed when my children were growing up, and those things that people in public service, all of us, worry with and wonder, are we doing the right thing? We've got our families, that's our first priority. It's the first thing we have to do. But someone has to take responsibility and be a part of our government. So it's a trying thing, and I see, and just recently I was calling people that I know are qualified, but those questions came up. My wife, my children, do I have the time? What will my employer say? Tough decisions to make when you're when you have other type dependents other than your own ambition. There's no one, I think, that gets in politics without a strong ambition. I don't think there's anyone that gets in politics without an idea or a belief that they can make a difference and have strong moral ideas, have strong leadership ideas, have strong ideas for the government. And it's amazing to see how compromise comes about. You get 124 prima donna members of the state legislature, and we all were, and they all are now. They have, and they should be. They should be looked upon as special people. But they all have ideas, and it's wonderful when you sit in a committee, and this is especially true in Congress, but when you sit in a committee and you hear 30 different ideas of the same thing that's read, you hear that moving around. That's compromise. When you can get those words, change those words to where they make it the bill or the proposition or the proposal that you would want.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thought. It's a wonderful
Yeah,
thing.
how does that work? I mean, it's almost inexplicable as you say it.
Yes.
Same idea, 30 different ways expressed of how to get to that idea. It is, some people know how to count. They know you've got to have a majority to get anything through.
And you have to have a strong belief, you have to have a strong persuasion, and you have to have done your homework. And right now, we are the engine running the state and our tourism and all. And you hear some of the senators, the representatives from Spartanburg, Greenville and all, that don't know the things that are going on, that don't want us to have road money that goes back to the state. And they have got their 150,000 constituents there that they need things just as strongly as we need them here. Right. So how do we mesh those ideas and get to what's best for everybody? We have been fortunate in the last few years, but for many years before, we suffered in having the things that we needed for Myrtle Beach, and we're finally getting those now. And I think probably I'd like to say it's my friends in the legislature to do it, and they certainly are. But I think the members of the legislature are reading the economic numbers. I think they are beginning to see that they can step on the tail, if that's what they want to call us, and not let us wiggle. But when the money goes to Columbia, when the revenue goes there, Myrtle Beach just stands up tall and is counted. So those are some of the things that you have to put over in your mind and in your heart, and how you have to have a conviction to get those compromises. And boy, if you think about 124 members, look at 435
yeah.
in Congress.
Right.
And I think about often how we have peaches in Aiken and Spartanburg and tobacco down here and all those things, and that's only a microscopic of the differences that we have in opinions and what our crops do and everything. Then you get to guys from Hawaii,
right,
California, Arkansas, all around the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And you think about the religious differences, the ideas and all, trying to get compromise. If you cannot compromise, you should not enter a political office, because at some point in time, no matter how strong a debater or anything you are, if you don't have the right issues, it is going to come back to bite you. My mother, uneducated, told me after she heard me in a strong debate in Columbia, she said to me, son, said, you need to be sure that when you're debating, that your words are soft and sweet, because you never know which ones might come back that you have to eat. So you have to have a temperament, what I'm saying.
Right.
That I knew that the ideas that I had for Overy County when I went to legislature were the best ones.
Right.
I knew that.
You had to.
But when I got there and those other fellows told me about their needs and everything, I knew that if I ever wanted to get anything with this county, that I had to help some of those people, and they would help me in the end.
Right.
People don't like that when you talk about that in politics, but they do it in churches. They do it in synagogues. They do it in business meetings. You have to give and take, and you have to be able to do that for democracy.
You know, you brought up such an important point there, John, as it relates to whether it's a man or a woman making that decision, both as it interrelates with their family.
Yes.
As well as recognize that you have to have elected officials to be able to run the country. So they're really at a painstaking process of going through that. How do I both be a parent or a husband or wife, as well as be someone who's committed to really serving a community?
Tough decision. And I asked people, particularly when I was really active in politics, trying to get good people to run.
Mm-hmm.
And the abuse you take from the media,
right,
from opponents, it's tough to do. So I guess compromise and tough skin maybe are incompatible in the dictionary, but you have to have them both to do that. And we have so many people. The finances are looked at, all of their backgrounds looked at, and many good people are not offering for office.
right.
Thank goodness we've got some that still do that we've got some. So it's, one, you've got to be dedicated and want to do it. You have to have your family support. Now we have to have finances. And you have got to have the ability to get out and get people to follow you, and you have to have people that are passionate, that want you to win, that want your ideas, because it is not a game of just fun. Right. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of organization, and now we've got consultants, we've got all of these people that want to be hired, you've got the graphic people. So all of those things go into it, and a lot of people do not do their basic homework and get in and get whipped up pretty bad and get out of politics, and that is bad. That is bad. So you just got to have some tough skin and decide to do it and have your family support.
But seeking your mother's advice there about make sure those words are sweet and soft is also a great way to engender support of volunteers.
Right.
Because you have to find out their issues and make sure those are in line with yours. You all have got to be in concert for them to wrap around you.
It is, it's a game, and I say game, it's a business of addition. When you vote, some people are going to dislike your vote. I don't know that we're going to have 100%. So basically, you're going to lose in your thought process, particularly if they're a single issue person, as many groups now, unfortunately, have become, or unfortunately, in my opinion, have become. So when you have got to be a good listener. I guess maybe that's what I should put in there. You've got to be able to listen And I see so many great politicians, maybe too well educated, but they start listening to a problem and they have the answer to the problem before the person even tells them the problem. And it's awfully hard for that person to vote for a person that already knows more than anybody else. Because he's had that problem for a long time trying to solve it, and here a politician doesn't even listen to him and knows how to solve it. So listening is a critical part of what we have to do, or what people have to do in politics to be successful.
We hear that all the time. I always loved hearing Brad Dean say that. We've got two ears and one mouth.
That's right.
And that's exactly
that's right.
what it needs to be. You got to think that way. And I'm glad you point out so many things, that aspect of getting folks in concert and the support of volunteers, and that's a big deal. As you step out, John, you're an Horry County native. When you think about that district, this was District 6.
Right.
That was a huge district, both geographically as well as population-wise.
The largest geographic east of the Mississippi at the time.
I remember Ed saying that.
Yes.
Ed Young said that. That's exactly right.
I lived 3 miles at the time from the North Carolina line, 45 feet from the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
So everywhere I would go was distance.
Absolutely.
Marlboro, Dillon, going into the edge of Charleston and those areas. What a wonderful time it was. And I ride through some of those places now and said, my gosh, how long is it going to take me to get back home to Myrtle Beach? But it was a large area. The diversification, the largest part of it was Myrtle Beach and the tobacco.
Right.
And that was, at the time I was in Congress, was started to be the downfall or the falling of the tobacco as the health people were bringing about their differences. So I have seen through that district some of the problems. I think probably we better align now in the first district with Charleston and all than we were before. But it irritates me and hurts me to think that all the years that we sort of followed Florence. Florence was our biggest, dominated the congressional district.
Right.
Then we changed that a little bit, and more people started coming into Myrtle Beach. And soon as we become the dominant in the 6th district, they gerrymandered us out and put us in Charleston now as being the dominant one, which means that it's going to be hard for someone from this area to be elected because the numbers just aren't there.
You're right. We think about that as it relates to that. Is it District 34, maybe the Ravenel seat, that right now it's only 3 Georgetown residents running for it because Charleston recognizes there's more of it in the Grand Strand than in the Low Country. And we've got no need to put somebody out there, even though Ravenel's held that position for so long. It's fascinating how gerrymandering affects things.
And, we Jim Clyburn, who now has, Congressman Clyburn, who now has the 6th district, I'm glad that he's there. Yeah. I am glad that he's there. And I'm glad because of the continuity and the activities that we are with in the 1st district, I think. And I hate to say that because I love the old makeup of everybody hating the beach till I'd bring them down here and give them a chew of tobacco or something, and we'd get along pretty good.
Right.
It's easy. I tell you, it was easier influencing the Charleston, the Lee County, and all than it is the Florence and Lee County than it is influencing the Charleston people because they just have a different idea of what Myrtle Beach is.
Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes, John. Of course, we can get you back in later to talk about that, but let's think back to when you first went into Congress there in 74, representing so many folks, obviously being a Horry County native, but having to represent so many folks in PD. We hear from Ed's experience, when he was first elected, the first call he gets is, we need some help with an airport, bringing people in. Yeah. We need some help with dredging, either in Murrell's Inlet or up in North Myrtle Beach area. And there are things, this was in 72, there's a lot of things we needed. Of course, you being here, you were hearing calls from the PD all the time.
Yeah. The dredging was a matter that we fought all the time, the dredging in the Murrell's Inlet area, and trying to keep the Port of Georgetown open, having to trying to dredge that to try to make an economic engine out of that port was something that we all worked for, all of us did. I happened, when I got on the Appropriations Committee it got to be a little different. I had a piece of property up at North Myrtle Beach called Heritage Shores that was some problems, wetlands, and I remembered that they would send a sergeant or a warrant officer to talk to me, to trying to chew me out about what I was doing wrong. And after I got elected to Congress, and I voluntarily went on the Appropriations Committee and took a subcommittee for the Corps of Engineers. And the next day, a four-star general came in and said, "Congressman, about Heritage Shores, let's talk about that." But it changed, and I was able, because of that, to get some dredging done that we hadn't had before. And it's being at the right place at the right time, I guess.
John, that aspect of making the announcement to run for office, when you think about actually everything being done, you know, we're going to have to get you back in. Would you be willing to come back in another time to talk a little, the excitement of making that announcement, everything leading up to that? Would that be okay?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I like to, particularly at colleges and schools, because as I live the American dream, there are plenty of people seeing this. They can do the same thing. They just got to have some determination and some luck, no question.
Those are good words. We're visiting with John Jenrette. We'll be back with more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank John Jenrette for having such a strong ambition, knowing that he can make a difference in living the American dream, for making today's Carolina People so special. Catch him when we come back.